Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice Newsbreak. Thanks so much for being here with us. The GOP-led House just passed a resolution that makes October 14th the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. 38 Democrats voted present in order to allow this move to push forward. The day would be an opportunity for Americans to reflect on Charlie Kirk's contributions to public debate and civic engagement. Senator Rick Scott of Florida authored the initial resolution, calling Kirk a, quote, magnetic leader, a loving father and a husband, and a friend and inspiration to so many. He went on to say Charlie loved our nation and its founding principles and believed deeply in his faith, in his family, and in the beauty of ideas and discussion. In the meantime, preparations continue for Charlie's public memorial service on Sunday. President Trump leads a list of high-profile speakers at the event, including Vice President J.D. Vance, as well as cabinet members Marco Rubio, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard. All of this comes as Erica Kirk was just named the new CEO and chair of the board for Turning Point USA, the organization her late husband Charlie founded. In a news release announcing the move, the organization writes, and I quote, all of us at Turning Point USA have a special role in carrying Charlie Kirk's mantle and completing his vision of bringing us all closer to the Lord and fostering a prosperous country for generations to come. Sunday's memorial service will be held at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Make sure to tune into Real America's Voice starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll, of course, have live coverage throughout the day. A 24-year-old accused stalker is dead after killing 3 police officers and injuring 2 more. The murdered officers were honored with this procession Wednesday night following their killings during a domestic-related investigation. Detectives say the killer ambushed the officers as they entered a home at the center of the domestic dispute case they were working. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'm Terrence Bates.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Our dear friend's seat remains open with the golden EIB microphone in front of it, his hero rush. It's pretty amazing. And so Tucker, this is the Tucker show for Charlie. And so I think it's important that I get to ask you a question.
Okay.
When did you meet Charlie? And tell us about how your relationship with Charlie grew, because I think it's fascinating.
So I met Charlie when he was a teenager. He was connected to, funded by, a close friend of ours called Foster Freeze, who's a wonderful man from Wilmington, Delaware, well, really from Wisconsin, but lived in Wilmington and then Jackson, Wyoming, and was an investor in a company that we had, and more important, like an actual friend, really the only investor I've ever had in anything. And in a very enthusiastic Christian man, and the kind of person who was just a collector of people. You know, I met this person, he was so enthusiastic, and almost everybody around him was just wonderful. But because he was so rich and so generous, he did collect. There were phonies in the orbit, because there always are when someone's rich, right? And so he tells me at dinner about this kid he's met. He's only 18. He's not going to college. I've always been opposed to college my whole life. I tried to convince all my kids not to go. I mean, I really meant it. And so he's like, you would love this guy. He's not going to college. And I was like, man, I love that, because I really am opposed, and I mean it. And I'm like, he sounds great. And he's like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, oh, man, some fast-talking kid it's like throwing back Reagan quotes or something at poor Foster, you know, who's in his 70s and like late 60s, and he doesn't know. And I really assumed that Charlie was just some predator, and I didn't like it at all. And of course, there's the bias against young people. I mean, Charlie's literally the age of one of my children. So like, and I felt he's probably just totally conventional, telling old people what they want to hear, or sucking up to the donors, whatever. So I meet him. I thought he was smart as hell, but I was very skeptical. Then I have this, he calls me, would you do an event? Sure, I was going to be in the state anyway, so I do it. And we have this kind of sort of debate, not really a debate. Well, what actually happened was I was going to give a speech, and I got there, we were backstage. He's like, well, actually, let's just do a Q&A. And I was like, I don't know, son, I don't think you want to do that with me, because I'm kind of a jerk. You know, which I am in those settings, right? So He's like, no, I want to. We can, it's okay to have a debate. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I disagree with your views on economics and foreign policy, and I'm pretty hot on these topics. So I'm just letting you know that. Oh, no problem at all. So we end up having this kind of intense thing, and I'm like passionately opposed to marijuana and drugs. I'm just having used a lot of drugs as a child. Like, I'm very opposed to drugs. Charlie never used any drugs in his whole life, and he was at the time, he was kind of libertarian on the subject. And I remember saying, everyone in the crowd is for weed. Like, you think you're so cool, but actually it's a control device designed to make you passive and accepting of the system that's destroying you. And people kind of booed me or whatever, but Charlie looked at me like, I think that may be right. And it was that issue. It was weed of all issues. You know, it's not my top issue, but I do feel it really strongly. I hate marijuana, okay? And I know it's really cool, but no, it's like fully corporate, actually. And it's wrecking Americans, especially boys.
It's wrecking the parking lot of the grocery store nearby.
It makes me feel like getting my gun. Like, I really feel that way about it. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but I really am mad about it. And Charlie grooved with that. And that moment set off this like conversation. So I was in Arizona for something. He's like, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner. And we started having all these really intense conversations, started putting him on Fox. And his views were changing. And mine were too, by the way. It's not like I converted him. It's like I had been all kinds of embarrassing things during the scope of my long life, a libertarian, a self-described neocon. Can you imagine? I mean, I'll admit it. I like got mad at Alex Jones for asking questions about 9/11. What? Like, I was like a horrible person or a very close-minded person. I was totally wrong about everything. And so I didn't judge. Like, you should change your mind as the evidence changes. The things you thought were going to work didn't. An honest man asks himself why they didn't work and what might work. Like, that's the process of adulthood. And Charlie, young people are very inflexible about what they believe, I have found. And I have a lot of young people. I have a lot of children. He was one of the only young people I've ever met who was like, oh yeah, I think I was wrong. And only belief in Jesus allows you to say that, because you know that you're not judged. You know that honesty is the ticket, and that if you pursue an honest path, you'll be okay. And you don't need the adulation from the crowd. You don't need the love of strangers to feel good about yourself, because you know that you are loved. It gives you true freedom. And he had that. Charlie had no problem at all getting up and being like, I was a neocon. And of course, with me, he didn't, because he knew that I was too. I'm like cheering on the Iraq War, which I did. Like, I literally did that. And I'm ashamed of it, but I'm also proud to admit it, because I think that it's important to let people know that you can admit being wrong. It's okay. It's all right. We're people. We're not gods. You can be wrong.
We're going to end this radio segment. We're going to be right back on the stream, so don't go anywhere. I want you to know, Tucker, that must have gone deep, because Blake can attest of all the fringe issues that he knew he was on the unpopular side. He was very, very vehemently against weed.
No way.
Oh, he went hard on it.
Yes.
No, I think you really got at it where, you know, one, he was totally unafraid of being in a huge minority on an issue and being frank about it. You know, people would ask, and he'd be like, they'd ask him about like abortion, and he'd be like, look, you know, my position on that is a tiny minority in the United States, and I'm going to keep trying anyway. And he'd say that on, you know, gay marriage, where the polls would say, you know, a big majority support it and all of that. And at the same time, yeah, the zero like shame about if he had to change his views. You see that so often with politicians. Well, actually, that was a different situation. You know, I voted that way because, you know, it wasn't like that. And he'll just be like, oh, no, I was wrong. I hadn't thought about this.
But you can't be controlled. If you will, so this is how the media control politicians. They find some clip if the politician's saying something different 10 years ago. It's like, well, it was a different country 10 years ago.
He would do that. We would see these clips, you know, these really like, they'd be like, look at, here's Charlie defending, you know, this issue. And I would be like, Charlie, they dug up that old clip. And he goes, oh yeah, that was back when I was a cuck.
100%.
And, you know.
But there's no shame in that. And Charlie's example of admitting the truth about himself in public is the most edifying and important thing you can ever do, because it shows people you can take the leash off and you can live in freedom because you know you're loved. You can tell the truth. We're all going to die anyway. This is the deepest truth. And your job is to be honest and to be loving to other people. Okay, that's your job. Only belief in God allows that. And once you do it, it's like, it's not only fine, it's great. It's actual liberation.
You said that, I remember, at the first AmFest when you came back. So you had the debate, and then you came back.
The unplanned debate.
Oh, I remember feeling so honored that you came back. It was our first AmFest, and we really needed like somebody of your caliber and your I'm going to say it, your fame, the weight that you held in the movement, especially. I mean, it was an honor to us to have you there. And you
I was so excited.
You came out the first night, and you just said, "Let me say a few words about Charlie. He's willing to change his mind. He's willing to adapt." And I knew that was your subtle nod to people who might have judged you. Maybe you weren't even thinking that, but it felt like it was at least saying, like, "Listen, I know some of you think Charlie's a certain way. Let me tell you, from that 2017 or whatever 18 debate to now, I think it was 2021. Like a couple years had gone by since we'd had you back." And then you've been back ever since.
But it's so important. I just can't say it enough to be honest about yourself. It's very easy to be honest about everybody else. Oh, you're fat. I don't like your dress. Like, that's super easy. It's very hard to be honest about yourself. Like, I'm fat. I'm wearing an ugly dress. Like, no one wants to admit that. But once you do, the fetters are off and you are so free. And Charlie just lived that. I feel like that's almost one of the most important things, is to admit the truth about yourself, and then no one can control you. What can you say about me that I won't readily concede about myself? Like, nothing. And then what are you going to do to me? Nothing. Oh, it's amazing.
I read that poem a week ago about Charlie, and I always think about that other one. It's a much more famous one, If, by Rudyard Kipling.
Yes.
And it really does just perfectly describe Charlie. If you can, speak with kings but not lose the common touch.
Exactly.
And the one that ends the poem, which you don't hear quoted as much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds distance run or something like that. I might be getting that wrong. But he really did encapsulate everything of that poem about what it is to be a true man, to be a true adult, to be a heroic figure. I don't know.
Yeah, you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you.
Yeah.
If you can trust yourselves when all men doubt you.
Exactly.
Yourself. But make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same.
Exactly.
If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and to stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after you are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you, except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
It's incredible. And the line that jumps out to me, which is the truest, and everyone, I think, understands it at some point, if you can treat triumph and disasters, those two imposters, the same, they are imposters, actually. Because, I'm not trying to leech the meaning from the human experience. It is meaningful, but it's not the real point, actually. And there is a sense in which this is
It just stands out to me how many of those things we just
How
referenced in
many?
the past
That-
hour.
yeah,
you
and
know,
I bet
being lied about. Don't deal in lies.
That's the one thing that I kept thinking about. If you can wait and not be tired, no, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And
But
how many
winning is the
times-
real trap. Winning is the trap. That's where men destroy themselves. That was he and I talked about that recently all the time.
Well, yeah, but
winning is when you decide that you're God. That's the David moment for most men. Surviving triumph is the real trick, and so few can do it, and he could. I think.
It's a beautiful. Thank you for bringing that. Actually, Blake has brought 2 poems to us this week that
I am the egghead.
have. I mean, that one about from World War I. What was the name of that poem?
For the Fallen.
For the Fallen.
Blake
And
can read poetry in a very heterosexual way, which is amazing.
Are you saying that I just did it in a non?
No. That was so straight. It was unbelievable. I'm just saying, you don't meet a lot of guys who are like, I want to share some poetry with you.
I've never been accused. I have a unblemished record of heterosexuality. And it's funny. I'm stealing that line from Charlie Kirk. He would always say, I have an unblemished record of heterosexuality. Why don't we take a quick little break? We're going to reset, and we'll be back for radio in about a minute and a half.